Hey up! You buggers. On Wednesday's video, obviously I gave you the choice for today's video. Either 5 things I hate about the Classic 350, or if I could only have one and I had to choose between the 350 and the 500, which bike would I choose? Now, I felt sure that you would go for option A, but you didn't. Now, I'm not the kind of person that will shy away from a bit of hard work, so I delegated the task of counting up the votes for this video to my partner. And I should add that this was at about 8 o'clock last night, because we needed to get the counting done, ready for me to start the editing this morning. And the results were clear: 180 votes for B, which bike would I keep if I could only have one of them, and 135 votes for A, 5 things I hate about the Classic 350. I didn't really think this through, to be honest. What I should have done was just put a YouTube poll up, because she has to sort of carry this out 3 times to make sure that it was fair and she'd counted properly. It took her about 2 hours, and of course the figures kept changing because people were still putting the votes on. Anyway, I think it's clear what the majority voted for. Now, don't worry, if you still want to see the 5 things I hate about the Classic 350 video, you get another chance. We'll put another vote up at the end of this video. I have to say, it's actually quite nice to get you involved with, the choice of video. It's not something that I've tried before, I don't think, and it's fun, so why not? Now, didn't really want to do this video. It's like having to choose between both legs, you can only keep one leg. Which one would you keep? Your right or your left? Whichever one you choose, you're going to regret it, because you'd much rather have both of them. Of all the bikes that I own, these 2 bikes are the bikes I prefer to ride. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, I would never have even considered owning a 350. Let alone a choice like this being a difficult one. But times have changed, and they're continuing to change. These bikes now, to me personally, make the most sense. Now, I'll be the first to admit it, that might partly be down to my age. Engine size and power are becoming irrelevant on our roads. So I think my swing in attitude towards smaller bikes has more to do with mental maturity than anything else. I ride bikes for pleasure these days, and I no longer find it pleasurable to ride a high-powered bike and constantly have to keep checking myself and reining that bike in. I prefer a bike that is modestly powered, convenient and easy going, and both of these bikes are just that. I've got to say from the start that the 350 is immediately at a disadvantage with this choice for me now, for a number of reasons, although technically it's the better of the 2 bikes. Now, I should make it clear from the start, I reserve the right to change this choice in the future, a year or 2 years down the line, because as it stands, this bike is an unknown quantity. I've only had it for 3 months, I've only covered 500 miles on it, and although I do feel that I've bonded with this bike now, I trust it completely, I love riding it, I don't have the time invested in it that I've invested in the Classic 500, the mule. I have an emotional attachment to the mule that for me is very special. It's a special bond, and it doesn't have a lot to do with common sense. Now, I've explained in the past the place that Royal Enfield has in my heart as a motorcyclist. There's a history there with my father going back to before I was born, and as I've explained, me buying the Classic 500 was the realisation of a 30-year dream. The Classic 500 was a bucket list bike. For 30 years, it's something that I aspired to own, although, for various reasons, I kept holding off. And really now, it's irreplaceable. These bikes are no longer in production, and they probably never will be again. And then there's its iconic status. It's been in production continually longer than any other motorcycle in the world. I know that it's now passed the baton on to the 350, but there's a difference between the two bikes. The old Classic 500 was the result of decades of evolution, little changes here and there. Yet I know that it's a completely different motorcycle from the original 1949 model that was introduced, but it's been an evolutionary progression. Bits of it have changed a little bit at a time over the decades, so its pedigree is genuine. Like the coelacanth, it's a sort of a living fossil. Now, by contrast, the new 350 Classic, the Mini Mule, was designed on a clean sheet of paper. Royal Enfield as a brand has evolved. People now expect different products from them. The modern rider wants a new level of refinement. They want the iconic look of a late 1940s motorcycle, but they want it to feel and behave like a modern machine. Now, I get that completely, and I fully agree with that direction that Royal Enfield has gone in. It was definitely the right thing to do. The new Classic 350 has everything you could possibly want. A fuel gauge, trip meters, even an economy meter. Slightly better fuel economy than the outgoing model. And a smoother, more refined engine. It feels lighter and easier to manhandle in and out of the garage or a cramped parking space. And it runs rings round the old 500 in the handling department. In short, it's a huge improvement over the old bike. Royal Enfield have done a really good job of capturing the essence of the classic Bullet look, but in a sort of a younger, fresher package. I love riding this bike, it's an absolute pleasure, but I feel torn. As the narration of this video has sort of progressed, I've started to feel a little bit like that guy from the old cartoons that's painting the floor. He's put every bit of care and attention he possibly can into the job, but then suddenly he realises that he's painted himself into a corner. There are two exits from that room, but he can't reach any of them without undoing all that hard work. Because you see, as much as the 350 is a better bike in just about every way, as I said earlier on, I've got a lot of time invested in the Classic 500. We have a history together, and I don't think that it's a bad quality to have, but I'm a loyal person. Let me put it this way. It's maybe something that'll strike a chord with some of you out there. A situation that I've been in once or twice in my younger days, and maybe you have as well. Imagine yourself somewhere in your 20s. You meet a girl. She's pretty, she's intelligent, she's easygoing, you hit it off and you start dating. Over the next couple of years you go out on dates, you go on holiday together, you have weekends away, days out. You both exclusively invest time in each other. You have a history together and everything is going great. But she has a younger sister. There's a family resemblance. They both physically have very similar attributes. But that younger sister has a different personality. Not necessarily a better personality, it's just different. She's a different experience. You've always secretly admired her, and then one day she lets you know that the feeling is mutual. She makes it clear that she's available if you want to pursue it. And suddenly you have to make a choice. There's nothing wrong with the relationship that you already have. But this choice is tempting, but it will jeopardise everything. The younger sister is an unknown quantity. You don't know where it would go if you went down that road. But what is first and foremost in your mind is that the older sister, the girl that you've been dating for 2 years, that would come to an end. And you've invested such a lot of time together. You've got a lot of memories together. You've got a big history together. And as much as you might be sorely tempted, you come to the realisation that you don't under any circumstances want to lose what you already have. So, if I had to make the choice between the Royal Enfield 350 Classic REborn and my comfortable, dependable mule, the Classic 500, I would have to choose the Classic 500. Me and the mule have been close companions for over 2 years now. She's comfortable, we get on well together, I know what to expect from her, and she's never let me down. Now, as I said near the beginning, this is not a choice born out of common sense. It's about loyalty and emotion. I already feel like I'm sort of having an affair with the 350 whenever I ride it, but luckily I don't have to make that choice. I'm dating both sisters and they both know about each other. Now, the main reason I suggested making this video, although I didn't really want to, is because people are asking me all the time between the two classics, which one would you choose? That would be my choice, and those are my reasons. The Classic 350 is a fantastic bike in its own right, and in a common sense world, it's the obvious choice. But let's face it, motorcycling is not necessarily about common sense. Right, what about next Wednesday's video? Let me have a think. We'll go with A again for 5 things that I hate about the Royal Enfield 350. But choice B would be a video detailing all the modifications that I've made for the bike and my views on them a little bit further down the road. Now, what I'm going to do this time, it got just way too involved and confusing doing it in the comments section on the video. I am going to set up a poll on my account. I'm not quite sure how it works, but I'll try and attach a link to it in the video description for this video. Now, I've never actually used that facility on YouTube, but I will try and get that up and running with a link to the video description by the time this video publishes. So, fingers crossed. Right, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I would very much appreciate it if you would leave a like and perhaps consider subscribing to this channel if you're not already a subscriber. I will of course be back next Wednesday with the video that you have chosen in that poll. So until then, please ride safely and I'll see you soon.